to the Propel Podcast, inspiration and innovation to grow your church. I'm your host, Larry Witzel. If God has given you big dreams for growing his kingdom, then this podcast is for you. Our goal is to offer practical training for effective evangelism in the Seventh-day Adventist ministry context, but we know that the principles we talk about here are applicable in many other churches as well. So, wherever you're doing ministry, welcome to the Propel Podcast. If you've been enjoying the podcast, will you do us a favor? Please take a moment and leave a review on whatever platform you're using, Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, whatever. It really helps us out. And if you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more episodes coming your way. Our special guest for this episode is Dr. Hiram Rester. He's the pastor of the Boonville and Columbia Seventh-day Adventist churches. For nearly 3 decades, Hiram has faithfully served as a pastor, a church planter, and an evangelist. Hiram has conducted over 100 full-message evangelistic seminars, which gives him a keen insight into this particular evangelistic method. He recently earned a Doctor of Ministry degree from Andrews University, specializing in church growth and multiplication. And his dissertation has been particularly impactful for me personally, as we together looked at ways to use short-form video for evangelism. In this talk, Hiram shares how video social media ads can be used for evangelistic outreach. He dives into the impact, the cost, and effectiveness of targeted video ads. He talks about shifts in audience demographics, as well as the potential for future growth. And he also covers his own personal experiences with community engagement and the impact of digital outreach on local church attendance. If you're interested in using videos for digital evangelism, there's a lot that you can learn from Dr. Rester. Before we begin today's episode, though, I want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Sermon View. Sermon View's mission is to empower churches to improve their effectiveness at reaching their communities for Christ. Their goal is to equip churches with technology and services for digital evangelism and community connection. And they can support your ministry in several different ways. If you're doing a full message evangelistic series or a bridge event, their multi-touch approach to advertising will bring more people through your doors. They can turn your church website into an evangelistic engine and then get it seen in your local community. And their new video service offers personalized coaching for recording short-form videos like Hiram talks about in this episode, helping you get better at communicating gospel truths online. If you're ready to take your outreach to the next level, visit sermonview.com and join over 2,500 other churches that have already worked with them. Learn more about their complete suite of evangelism tools at sermonview.com. Okay, let's turn now to Dr. Hiram Rester and his presentation in the digital evangelism track of the 2024 Propel Conference. His topic, how we got 1 million plus video views online in our community.
This started out as a Doctor of Ministry project through Andrews University. I had to talk about something, or I had to work on something, do something for a project, and they say, pick out something that you've always wanted to do but haven't gotten around to. That was one piece of advice I got, so I gave it a try. You go to the Digital Commons at Andrews University, developing and testing concise evangelistic videos for millennials and Generation Z in Columbia, Missouri. We were wanting to reach a younger audience in a geographically specific area. And the idea was to test and see if I could become a social media influencer using paid ads locally instead of the algorithms globally. And so we did a lot of different experimentation, and I'll take you on a journey through that today. I think what didn't work is as important as what did work, because this is a fairly new field to be experimenting in. And if you can learn what didn't work for me, maybe it will keep you from wasting time and money. And maybe you can start with what did work and then build on that. And so Ministry Magazine ran our article on the front page back last summer, June of 2023, social media ad-based video outreach. And so this is a report from our church YouTube. We had a while there, you can see in the center where we weren't running our ads, just taking some time off from it. But you'll notice that's 1.27 M. What does that M stand for? million. That's 1.27 million views on our church YouTube there. And notice the average cost per view. It's how much? 3 cents. And we spent how much money on that? Yeah, $43,000. You say, well, I don't have that much to spend on outreach. That's because you're not spending the price of a new car on your outreach every year in your church. It's sacrificial giving. You've always been able to do Adventist outreach and evangelism for the price of a new car. It's just they don't cost $2,000 anymore. They cost more than that. And so, when we move ahead here, I want to share with you some key thoughts, but I'll share with you just a sample video to begin with. Now, try to hear it. When our sound is not perfect, but this is just one sample. I'll share about 4 of them throughout the presentation.
Who's your favorite superhero? Is it Captain America? Maybe it's the Hulk, or perhaps it's Spider-Man. Countless arguments have been held about which of the superheroes is the greatest. My son and I argue about it all the time. But I'm going to give you my opinion. Maybe I can help settle the argument a little bit today or just spur it on. But we're going to talk about a superhero that's above all the others, that is the absolute best ever. He faced the ultimate evil when the whole world hung in the balance. He died saving humanity, and he came back to life. He ascended to his realm, and he's coming again soon with the armies of heaven to take us to a place he's prepared for us. He's the only superhero that really, truly ever existed, and his name is Jesus.
Not earth-shattering, just something to put out there and try to catch the community's attention and add some value. People argue about superheroes all the time. There's really only ever been one real superhero where he was saving the world, and what he did really had the whole world in the balance. And so it's just an idea to put out there. Well, so we put that out there. I want to read the text. This is Arion. And Arion is a young man that he works at the Tropical Smoothie Cafe. And I came into the Tropical Smoothie Cafe one day, and my wife and I ordered I came into the Tropical Smoothie Cafe, and we ordered our order, and then when it got brought out, the young man kind of started acting funny. He's like, oh, it's you. Like acting like he had just met a famous person. And in so doing, he made it clear. He goes, I've been watching your YouTube videos. And I've given my heart to Jesus watching your YouTube videos, and now you're here in my restaurant. And so he was all excited. This is a young man, 18, 19 years old. Not the one that typically comes out to our evangelistic meetings when we send out flyers in the mail. Not typically. Okay. Now, we tested these 4 platforms, okay? And went 15, in some cases 20 miles out from our church with some initial experiments. Then we tightened up the radius to 15. And so it may say 15, it may say 20 throughout the presentation. But the most of the focus is there, certainly within the 15-mile radius, because it's very rural once you get out farther than that from where we're at. And we quickly narrowed our experimentation down to 2. And those would be Facebook and YouTube. And initial experimentation, a combined total views over 7 months were about 866,000 within 15 miles of our church. Okay? And so one of the things that we needed is sufficient experimentation to have data to work with and draw conclusions. And we used paid skippable ads on Facebook and YouTube. The reason that we used the paid ads was so that we could get our programs in front of a specific audience. As a Seventh-day Adventist pastor, I certainly want to be part of reaching the world with the gospel, but I have a responsibility to reach my territory that my churches are in. And I've got friends that are social media influencers and have hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube, But if they were to hold a live event in any particular town, there's a very small handful of folks that might actually show up because most folks have never seen them. Their viewers are spread around the globe. Well, as a pastor trying to grow the church I pastor, that's not practical. So, what did we do? We began to put together some ideas. It involved a lot of growing pains over the time. We ended up with initially over 400,000 views on each of those platforms, Facebook and YouTube. We ended up putting Instagram and TikTok aside. Now, TikTok may be worth revisiting, if they don't ban it from the country. But when we were doing our experimentation, it was still newer. And so this is the map. Columbia, Missouri is where my main church is. And so we literally were able to target specific zip codes just like flyers in the mail. You'll notice we went a little farther north and south and east and west because we have 4-lane divided highways that go those directions. And so people can drive a little quicker. Whereas it didn't go as far out, in the other areas because it's just a bunch of curvy roads and takes a lot longer to get into town. And so here's what we discovered with our initial experimentation. Average cost per view was 8 cents on Facebook and 4 cents on YouTube. Now, that's even worse for Facebook than it sounds. And the reason it's worse than it sounds for Facebook is a Facebook view is something called a through play. That's a term that they invented. It's their term, a through play. And a Facebook through play is 15 seconds. So if someone watches for 15 seconds, they charge you. And it was interesting. I don't know what the algorithm is on Facebook, but we discovered after thinking we had a whole bunch of people watching our stuff on Facebook because of all of these views, when we analyzed the data, most people were leaving at like the 16 or 17 second mark. So Facebook had learned just how long to have it count, 15 seconds to charge us before our audience left. Now on YouTube, not only was a view half the price of Facebook, 4 cents, but YouTube does not even count it as a view until 30 seconds. So twice as long. So when you do the math, YouTube was way, way, way better than Facebook because we were getting a view of twice as long for half the cost. We move ahead. Here's some interesting information. I thought, by the way, Facebook was going to be the winner of everything. I thought, you know what? Someone needs to finally invest enough money on Facebook to crack the Facebook code. Now, I will back up and say, if you want to get millennials out to help with a community project, Facebook is the way to go. But to get folks out to do a Bible study, Bible prophecy, that kind of thing, Facebook just had not worked for us. Over the years, multiple times a year, there were churches we worked with in evangelism that wanted to, throw $500 at Facebook advertising, and we did that. And we would always ask opening night of the meeting, if you are here because of a Facebook ad, raise your hand, and we never had hands go up over and over and over again. But I thought, enough of the right kind of money, the right experimentation, we'll get this to work. Now, here's what we discovered age groups on Facebook and YouTube. You're going to discover very quickly I'm down on Facebook for this and high on YouTube, but that's not how we entered our research. That's not how we approached it. We discovered out of those 866,000 initial views of our data that the age range on Facebook, very few, 18 to 24, and then 25 to 34, 17%. And then those that were on Facebook and watched our videos, notice the highest were 55 and older. Okay? And that was after we put in a restriction on Facebook so that it required Facebook to spend at least half of our money on people under the age of 40. Before we put that in, they showed it almost all to senior citizens because they were the cheapest. And so it just automatically went to the cheapest. So if you're doing Facebook ads and you're not restricting age, you're showing to senior citizens most likely. Just know that. So on YouTube, I want to share one thing. I think I've got it later in my notes, but I'm afraid I'm going to forget to say it. And so I want to get it in. This is key. We initially experimented with YouTube and found that it was costing 18 cents a view. And so 18 cents a view. We put YouTube aside and focused almost exclusively on Facebook. And as we got to about 8-9 weeks left in our project, we had an extra $20,000 come in from a couple of different sources that wanted this to be really experimented well, researched well. And I didn't need any more money for Facebook. We had Facebook dialed in, we thought. And even then, I was expecting, lots of people to come out to the meetings from Facebook based on what was happening with the videos. But we circled back and we tried something with YouTube that we thought was a total waste, but we needed to do something with this money. How many of you have watched YouTube and they play these ads for 5 seconds that you can then click to skip? Okay? That's what I thought would be a waste. We had initially done the ads to where it's the next suggested video. And that was what was costing us 18 cents each, just to get people to click on it as the next suggested video. So we went with the skippable ads, which to me, when I watch YouTube, are just annoying. And I skip them at 5 seconds every single time. Well, we tried that, and we discovered that they worked phenomenally well. The 5-second skippable ad at the beginning of YouTube videos. Now notice, with over 400,000 YouTube views, notice the age difference and interest between Facebook and YouTube. 75% of those who viewed on YouTube were between the age of 18 and 44. I'm 47, so 75% of the people viewing on YouTube are younger than me. That really got our attention, since our project was about reaching millennials and Gen Z. And so, the oldest millennials turned 40 a couple of years ago, so that's an interesting thing. Now, another thing that we found interesting is gender. Male and female. So male was 44% and female 56% on Facebook. On YouTube, we had 64% male and 36% female. As a pastor, reaching the male audience has proven to be a challenge. Now, in my evangelistic meetings, I've done well at reaching the male audience. I tend to be a man's man that likes to hunt and fish and do all of that kind of stuff, take jujitsu. I kind of figure if King David were around, he would still want to spar a couple of rounds of MMA a day with us to stay in shape. And so, I've done well at reaching men in evangelism. I've discovered something. You win the wife, and occasionally you win the husband. But if you win the husband, usually the wife will go to church with the husband and you will win the whole family. And so the idea that this was reaching men without messing with the algorithm at all, this was amazing. And so it was reaching a young male audience. Religiously speaking, I don't know of anything else that was automatically reaching a young male audience. So we're just trying to do some fun things that provide value. Add value to people's lives. Get people's attention. Get some, name awareness. The whole idea behind this was, if folks are familiar with this person and they like what they're seeing and hearing, that when this person does a live event in their town, hopefully they will want to come out. And so that was the whole idea behind doing these. We did some that had prophecy content, but a lot of just good Christian general stuff. And here's what our initial investment was. We spent $30,883 on putting these videos on Facebook. Okay? You say, I don't have that kind of money to spend on it. Well, it's a good thing that the Columbia, Missouri Seventh-day Adventist Church did. We did the research because it was worth investing in to find out. We had opening night of the series 6 people, and one elderly person made a decision to become part of the church by profession of faith. That was the Praise the Lord for that, but that was the $31,000 baptism. Evangelistically speaking, not the best investment of our funds. And so, then we did YouTube. Now remember, we had been doing Facebook ads for 7 months. We came across a financial windfall of $20,000 with 9 weeks left to opening night of the series. And so we invested $17,813 on YouTube ads. Opening night, we had 19 people from the YouTube ads, and we had 4 decisions for baptism. So, it was a mix. And interestingly enough, he asked, were they men? I said it was a mix. And so interestingly enough, after that, I was pretty much done with Facebook for the project. Because for less money, we were getting way more response. I've thought about that. Why is that? You realize the same people that are on YouTube are the same people on Facebook. How many of you go on Facebook and you go on YouTube on the same day sometimes? It's the same audience. It's the same audience. What's different? The mindset. I can't prove this, but that's something I've deduced. If I go to Facebook, I'm in a scrolling mode. I'm looking for something with friends or whatever. If I'm at YouTube, I'm actually wanting to watch something with substance. Same person, on it for a different reason, a different outcome. I don't know. It's just something we've discovered here. Now, as we look here at this, I want to share with you that, I've got a note here. It says, from those 19, 13 were young adults, 7 Gen Z, and 6 millennials. So of the 19 that attended from YouTube, 13 of the 19 were in the target range. Have you ever had any advertising you've done evangelistically that the majority of the people that showed up were under 40? I haven't with 100 and something evangelistic meetings that I've done. No, I can't say we've ever had that before. So that was from a researcher's, remember this was a Doctor of Ministry research project. From a researcher's perspective, this was significant, okay? And so, we then added handbills to the mix. As a longtime evangelist, I was scared to death to try a series without mailing out handbills because I wanted to make sure I had someone to preach to. So here's what we discovered. We added handbills. We spent $21,510 on flyers to mail out in the area, and we had 40 that attended from the handbill. You say, well, so the handbill beat YouTube. It did with that experiment, but remember, we discovered YouTube was working, or potentially would work, with only 9 weeks before the meeting. Facebook had been going for 7 months. Okay? But notice, even though more came from handbills, when we got down to the end of the meeting and we had decisions for baptism, we had the same number from YouTube as we did from the handbills. For less money. Now, mind you, I certainly want to fill the auditorium up opening night, so I like that the handbill brought 40, but as an evangelist that has always paid attention to results and I'm trying to improve methods and do better, I'm looking at this and going, 4 decisions for baptism, 4 decisions for baptism, YouTube was cheaper than the handbill. Okay? Now, from a research standpoint, let's move ahead here. We did something that we added a variable to our meeting that destroyed our attendance in the series and really messed up our results. It wasn't until the next meeting we got to see things a little bit different. And that is, we added live stream. How many of you think it's a good idea to live stream your evangelistic meeting? Don't raise your hands right now because I'm about to say bad stuff about that. I thought it was a good idea. It made sense to me at the time. It killed our crowd because people could stay home and watch the meetings. And the people that came to our meetings from watching stuff at home on video, particularly were susceptible to want to stay home and watch it online. And they didn't make decisions at home and then show up at Sabbath to get baptized like the people in the live meeting. It just didn't work. And so, unfortunately, inadvertently, we introduced a wild card variable into our research that decimated the results of our meeting when it seemed to matter most. So, that's how it goes sometime. Now, we set Facebook aside and move forward with YouTube. And this has allowed us to really make some positive strides. Here's what we're getting. We're getting a community connection. When I mail out flyers, and I still use flyers, I'm not down on flyers, but I have watched in the course of when I did my first series in 1997, I have watched what would come out from the advertising just go down, 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 down. Okay? It used to be when I was evangelist for Gulf States and then for Texaco, you sent out flyers, you can count on four people per 1,000 showing up, walking through the door on opening night. That used to be the case. You want 100 people, send out 20,000 handbills. You want 200 people, send out 40,000 handbills. So it was like clockwork. It was a mathematical thing, okay? But once you're past the date of opening night, once you're past the dates in that handbill, it's useless. I'm still getting recognized in stores in the local area where I pastor from people that have been watching the videos. I'll tell you about some of them. One of them, I went to my daughter's soccer game, and a fella, he said, "You the guy that did the prophecy videos on YouTube?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, I wanted to come to your meetings. You going to do that again?" I said, "Yeah, we'll do it again in a few months. I'm going to be there this time." It's there. I go into Pancheros, a little Mexican place I like to eat, and the guy's like, "Man, I was traveling when you had your meetings. Just come up and talk to me." I was trying to figure out what was going on, where I knew this. I was traveling when you had your meetings, and I really wanted to come to those. And can you tell me where to find those online now? And of course, I had recordings, and I knew how to tell him where to go get those on YouTube somewhere. And he had been watching our YouTube stuff. My car, this was just a few weeks ago now, my car broke down at the church, and I thought it was a battery issue, and I had a contractor there, Adventist contractor, because we're doing an addition to the church, and it was 5 o'clock. It was time for him to quit. He was from out of town, and he goes, "Let me take you. Let's take your battery in and have it checked." And I said, "I don't have any tools." "You know what? If you want to take me to Walmart, I'll buy the cheapest set of sockets and I'll take the battery out. We can run over to AutoZone or O'Reilly's." He goes, "Okay, let's do it. I'm glad to help. I mean, I'm in from out of town, and the only thing I've got to do is, go back to the hotel and watch YouTube. So why don't I take you around and let's work on your car?" I said, "Okay." I go to Walmart and I go to get the cheapest set of sockets, and theft's becoming a bigger issue everywhere. Now all the tools at our Walmart are behind a glass case. And so I go over to the auto counter and I said, I need to get some tools. And the young man comes over and says, "Which ones you want?" And he unlocks it and he hands me a little socket set that I was going to buy. And he goes, "I can check you out back here if you would like." I said, "Okay." We're walking back to his counter and he goes, "You've been doing a good job on YouTube. I really like watching your videos." I had no clue. Up to that point, he had helped me and all of that. You better be on good behavior all the time if you're going to do this stuff in the community, right? And I'll tell you about the Sam's Club one next. He goes, "Yeah, and I've been telling my girlfriend we ought to check out these Seventh-day Adventists because your videos are just really, really interesting to me." I said, "Okay." I went into Sam's Club, and there was a mix-up on an order that I had. And the young lady that was at the counter, it was clear she must be in training. She didn't know what she was doing, and it was the people in front of me had been getting frustrated because she couldn't help them, and it was one of those situations. But I had remained patient, and I said, this and that, and I dealt with it calmly, and we get all done, and after way, way, way too long, we got my issue at Sam's Club resolved, and she goes, "I'm really enjoying your YouTube videos." And I thought I could have got snippy with this young lady real easy over this situation. Thank you, Lord, for not letting that happen at least today. I've never gotten grumpy with someone and then them comment they've watched my videos. Maybe it's happened and they just said, "I ain't saying nothing to him now." I don't know. So, it's got a community connection. You realize as an Adventist pastor, I added it up one time, and I want to say that I think I had mailed about 2.5 million handbills in my evangelism career. Okay, 100,000 here and 120,000 here and 30,000 here, 100 and something evangelistic meetings. And I have never had people in the community notice me. Never. Same decisions with handbills as handbills with less money. And when I'm resting, I'm still working. I put together a little something for my church board the other night, how I took a week off and I still did 28,000 Bible studies in the community or something, So the members are really excited about this. And to see the members excited about something evangelistically is good as well. Okay, so here's just another sample video. All right.
Are all miracles from God? Revelation 16:14 tells us the spirits of demons work miracles to deceive. So just because something is supernatural, just because it seems to be a miracle, doesn't mean it's from God. It could be from the devil himself. So how do we avoid deception? How can you make sure you're not led astray by false miracles? We must check all miracles and miracle workers by the Bible.
Just concise messages we put out there. Now I want to share something about this one specifically. Did you notice that the video on that, as the camera tried to adjust to the light as I leaned forward and back, that it got dark? And one of the things that we used to think about video, and it used to be true 20 years ago, is you wanted your video perfect. But in this day and age where people are just pulling out their phones and doing video, you want it to be good, you want it to be representative, you want it to be good enough you're not embarrassed by it, but little imperfections make it authentic. You're not worried about little imperfections if you're doing video for social media. In fact, if you do it over production, it's fake on social media, which is a good thing for those of us that aren't perfect. How do I come up with content? Boy, that is a great question. About the same way I scrounge around as a pastor every week and figure out something to preach on. There were times where I did a few in a week. There's times where I might go 6 weeks and not do one and use reruns and that kind of thing. Just looking for ideas. And I've given folks permission, don't write my script down and do it, but make bullet points and do your own version of any of my videos. And we might get to that a little later in the presentation. So what have we done since? That kind of takes us up through the doctoral project, and that closed off, and it was, groundbreaking. It was the first venture into doing these paid ads in a local setting where we actually had people show up to evangelistic meetings and make decisions. It was a new thing. So the doctoral project was a success. We defended it. Everyone was excited. And then what? All right. So this is last year, July 24 to October 23rd, 2023. We were just focusing on YouTube at that point, and we began to ramp it up before the evangelistic meetings. So what we discovered is in the weeks leading up to the evangelistic meetings, back to July 4, we were at 2 cents per view, 3 cents per view. But what happens is when you try to get a lot more views in a shorter period of time, the price goes up. So that's why it says 4 cents on average there, is because the price went up in the 3 weeks before the meeting where we really, really hit it hard. But we now can show our videos, and I mean thousands and thousands of them a day, 3,000-4,000 views locally at 2 cents each. So as a church, we could have 1 million views every year for $20,000. $20,000, we can have 1 million views. Our population is 120,000. You say, well, they're not just jumping in your church at this point. No, they're not. But we're doing something we've never done before. And you know what I haven't done yet? This is the next phase, and I keep thinking I'm going to get to it, but I'm also raising kids, and I'm married to a beautiful woman, and I'm planting fruit trees, and so I just don't get everything done that I want to do. Is at some point, hopefully in the very near future, we're going to start dropping testing truth videos. So far, all we've done is general Christianity stuff. Now, here's a little secret about outreach that everyone needs to see clearly in your mind. The way that you connect with people is things that you have in common with them. But nobody becomes a Seventh-day Adventist Christian over what you have in common with them. It's when you get into the things that are distinctive truths. That's what makes the difference. So far, all we've done is lay the foundation of things we have in common. The Baptist, the Methodist, even the unchurched, they love that Jesus is the greatest superhero. The Baptist, the Methodist, the unchurched, the Catholics, they love the 4 ways to fix your spouse and then fix your spouse's spouse. Nobody has any issue with any of these things. We've done some prophecy ones too. The next phase in our experimentation will be when we start doing 1 million views a year, and it includes the Sabbath and the state of the dead and these things. Is that going to make a difference when we invite folks to the evangelistic meetings? Is that going to make a difference in folks that just walk through the front doors of the church? We don't know. We are early on in this process. The clicker doesn't work over there. So the evangelistic meetings we did last fall, focusing only on the paid YouTube ads and supplementing with handbills. We tried to do an equal amount. We set a budget of $20,000 for the handbills. We used Sermon View here, and $20,000 for the YouTube. We weren't quite able to get YouTube to spend $20,000. They spent $19,700 and some change. Okay? The handbills, we had no problem getting them to spend the full $20,000. That was fine. Okay. So, we spent $40,000. We had opening night at the series, about 88 guests. There's some church members in that picture. I recognize a few of them. That's overwhelmingly guests from in the series. With the YouTube ads, it's interesting to see how that broke down. Okay? I'll give you channel analytics off of YouTube. And we had 51,000 people that viewed multiple videos. Those are the returning viewers. 51,000. What's our population? 120,000. Yeah, no wonder I'm getting recognized at Walmart, right? Okay. Now, we had unique viewers. That's different ones that saw our video. 122,000 for we only have a population of 120,000. How do we have 122,000 that saw them? At least one of them. Unique, different viewers in that time period. Guys, I realize that when we've sent out handbills that, if the post office does their job right, that one got put in every mailbox, but I've never felt like we've really just actually hit every home. Guys, the way I go through junk mail, I don't even hardly notice it's there. Gone. And that's what they view it as. And so anyway, just some interesting things that we're learning. We're early on. This isn't necessarily the solution to anything, but there's a lot of information that we've gathered here that we feel like we're seeing something begin to develop, and we don't know where it's going to lead. We found that our numbers on gender held 37.4% female. The male viewership was 62.6%. We were happy with that. We found, and this is not the initial project of the D-Men. This is post-D-Men. Now this is round 2. This is just outreach for the Columbia Seventh-day Adventist Church. And this is what we found to be the numbers on age. Check that out. The majority of your viewers are, again, between ages 18 to 44. That's not setting any kind of parameters. That's just letting YouTube show the videos, and that's who's seeing it. Isn't that amazing? Absolutely astounding to us. And so, with the handbills, we use that one right there, right here from Sermon View, Signs of the Second Coming. I like that flyer, by the way. It pretty much just gets right to the point. What are we talking about? And since we like to start with Signs of the Times, it seemed to work really well. In YouTube, and then both. So there are people that on the survey card, on the registration card, where it had advertising survey at the bottom of it, 37 people marked that they saw the flyer. It had the flyer in the mail, YouTube, or both. 37% marked that they had seen the flyer. 48% marked only that they had seen YouTube, and 17% of our group had seen both. The demographics on the handbill, we have a little bit, but not as good. YouTube makes the demographics very easy because it's electronic and digital. One thing that we discovered as we've done, and we had to use them in our doctoral research, we had no choice, but when we have the survey on the registration card, it's horribly unreliable. And we had people that we didn't even show Instagram, but we had it on there. We had people marking Facebook and Insta. We used the old card that had Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And we had people marking Facebook and Instagram when we hadn't shown anything on Facebook and Instagram. What that tells me is they knew they had seen it online, but not where. They didn't remember which one. So the question is, yes, we've filmed it different times. Even when we do it live, sometime we film it, but we don't live stream it. We will put it up for them the next day. Live stream has killed our audience, and we're not doing it anymore. We initially experimented with Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, and we quickly ended up going to Facebook and YouTube for the results we were having, and then we went all the way just to YouTube after we had enough data after we got to that evangelistic meeting and saw who came out. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Okay, so the Facebook ads, did we do it throughout the year or concentrated on weekends? We did it pretty consistently over a 7-month time period with a focus on the last 3 weeks because of, the same reason you advertise an event right before it happens. So just the normal exposure was pretty even over 7 months. And so, yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir. No, I'm neither advertising that I'm Adventist nor trying to keep it a secret at all. I'm just putting the videos out there, and I'm not making an issue of it at this point, but I'm not holding anything back. As I go into my next phase, I will probably have the church name right there. I've run a few with the church name right there at the bottom of the video, But really what I've been going for is community awareness and connection. Because I'm a settled pastor. I've been there 6 years. I got a kid in 7th grade. I'm hoping he graduates the local academy before I would consider a move. I'm invested for the long term, and so I'm not rushing through this process. The longer I can just connect with them with general stuff, but still be taking them through some deeper message stuff, I think the better for what we're trying. My minimum recommendation is $300 a month. $3,600 a year. And so, you could still do good with less than that. But one of the things about evangelism advertising is I've seen many evangelism efforts fail where they didn't have enough to, in the days of handbills, mail the whole area. So they mailed a couple thousand handbills and they didn't get enough people to have a whole meeting and critical mass. So I think probably about the minimum that with this you'd be able to get a group gathered up is about $300 a month. I love that. That is awesome. So do a small sampling and see if you get anybody, say for $150, you get anybody to come out, and then that's totally scalable. One of the limitations where I'm at is I want to go to an area like St. Louis where I'm not limited to 120,000 in population and really scale this up. So it's totally, so you scale it down like that, and then instead of inviting them maybe to a full message series, invite them to a weekend event or something. That would totally work. Great idea. I love it. Okay, let's move ahead here. There we go. We loved using props. Props are awesome. Props get people's attention. Literally, I've discovered this as a pastor, anything else. A dude standing there holding a football is more interesting than a dude standing there without a football. Also, Revelation symbols, what are horns? I was out mushroom hunting in Missouri and I find a skull of a 9-point buck. And then I get to talk about what horns represent in Bible prophecy. Yeah, people tune in. They listen to that. They'll watch that all the way through, and so that goes good. And so we love using props to grab attention when we can think of good ones. We don't use them just to, be standing there with a prop for no purpose. But you got a really cool arrowhead, a really cool buck skull, people are going to pay attention to the video. They're going to listen to what you're talking about. They're going to give you a few extra seconds. And so, how to make a video. This is one that if you're a pastor and you want to consider doing this, how do you make a video? Guys, it does take some intentional effort for you to make good video, but it is not as complicated as you might think. Check this out. So the first thing you're going to want to do is learn about the 3-take method. I bought a course and watched all the videos on it as part of my research. It was a couple of B-list actors in Hollywood. Now, and it was a course for entrepreneurs to make videos to promote their businesses locally on social media. Now, B-list actors know as much about acting as A-list actors. They're just not as good looking or whatever. They don't have the it factor, so they actually have to know their craft, right? And so I went through this course, and they recommend the 3-take method. You go through your information, and you make bullet points, not word for word. When you're reading a script, people can tell you're reading a script. And reading a script is not what social media is looking for. Reading a script is inauthentic. Reading a script is not considered authentic, okay? And so you make bullet points of what you're wanting to cover. And then you review your bullet points audibly out loud over and over and over and over and over again. If you sat down to take a video and you can't do it in 3 takes and be done, you didn't prepare enough. Okay? And so it's real simple. I'll show you one. This is an actual one I did. This one is great. You're welcome to do it. Just don't do it verbatim. Do it close, which that's all I had. That's my notes for my video. Did, know, ... 1, sin, evil. 2, sinner. 3, save. 4, time. You say, I have no idea what that is. Yeah, but if you were preparing that as your notes, you would know exactly what to do with that. Walk up and down the road, put it on the cabinet while you do the dishes, and practice. Okay? Then, when you get ready to film your video, you take a stand. You can order a stand like this on YouTube for $15, $16, not YouTube, on Amazon. Okay? And then you put the sticky note right under the lens of the camera. You use a smartphone. You already have one. And if you don't, there's a teenager you know that does. You stick the sticky note right under the lens of the camera. Do you know why? So you're looking right at it. You say, do you want to use your video where you take your phone and you can see yourself, the reverse method? The reason you don't want to do that is you end up looking at yourself and it's close instead of into the lens of the camera. And so you don't want to frame it up, and then you use that as a teleprompter. That's a teleprompter is what that is. Okay? Guys, it is a sticky note written on with a Sharpie stuck under the lens of an iPhone camera. You already have in your house what you may have to order the stand to hold the phone. $15, $16 on Amazon. Or you can spend a lot more than that on them, but you can get one that does the job for $15, $16. Okay? And so that's what you have. And then once you have done it and you've reviewed your notes so that you've got it down pretty well, don't worry about word for word. I'm not getting up here and talking to you reading a script today. I'm talking to you the way you talk to your mother on the phone. Just it comes to mind and you express it. You have the notes so that it just reminds you what next, not so it tells you exactly what to say. And that's how you do it. And then you imagine when you look into the lens of that camera, you imagine you're looking and talking like that camera lens is a window. And there he is, there's Larry. You've got a good friend on the other side of the window you're talking to. So, like this. See, imagine when you look at the lens of that camera that you're talking to a good friend, right? Yeah. So, it's real simple. And so, I'll just sit down and do it for you like I was recording it. And any of you have the ability to do this. This is not that big a deal. So, did you know there are 4 things even God doesn't know? Oh, that's right. You started this video. You thought God knew everything? Well, listen to this. Number 1, he does not know a sin he doesn't hate. Now, in the Bible, evil is called sin. Number 2, he does not know a sinner he doesn't love. And we're all sinners. We've all done things we should not have done. Number 3, he doesn't know anything else he could do to save you. He sent Jesus to die for our sins. And number 4, he doesn't know a better time than right now. The Bible says, choose you this day whom you will serve. It's the end of the video. So you make your notes, and you could even take my exact sticky note. And it's 4 things God doesn't know. He doesn't know a sin. He doesn't hate. The HMS Richard or someone used that like way back in the, I want to say 1800s, but he wasn't that old. So, but a long time ago, Adventist evangelists borrow and recycle and steal and all of that from each other. That's fine. Just don't do it verbatim because the algorithm might pick it up and, word for word. It's getting to where it recognizes wording better. So, and then it doesn't matter though. You're going to use your own wording anyway. And so that's how easy it is to do a video. Make you a sticky note, go on a walk with it, stick it on your camera, and do it. And do it 3 times, even if you think you nailed it the first time, which I had one little mistake on that one, but I would still use it that way. But I would go ahead and do it 2 more times and pick the best one. Another thing, quit editing. You want to make this a labor that takes forever? And this is what I learned watching that program from the Bees List actors. They did a great job. They said, do 3 takes and use one of them. You start trying to look through and splice this to that and everything else, and now you're hours into editing. You can sit down and do this, and you can pop it up on YouTube 15 minutes. You say, well, there's more than 15 minutes. Yes, walking down the road, you should be walking anyway, exercising. Take it on your exercise and get it ready. And then your 15 minutes is your total investment if you multitask with your review with exercise or washing the dishes or something, okay? And so only do 3 takes and use the best one. Here's one for you.
I've heard people say they don't go to church because there are too many hypocrites there. Well, where else do you want the hypocrites to be? We go to the grocery store, and guess what? There are hypocrites. We go out to eat, there are hypocrites at the restaurant. And sporting events, yeah, the hypocrites are there too. You don't let the hypocrites keep you away from anywhere else. Don't let them keep you away from church.
The Baptist pastors even like that video. It's just saying, don't let hypocrites keep you away from church. So here's hypocrites at Walmart and at the football game. You don't let them keep you away from there. Don't let them keep you away from church, because I don't know if the audio was good enough to hear back there, but thank you, and we move ahead. If you have a smartphone for less than $100, you can give it a try. Seriously, Post-it notes and a marker, a phone tripod. There's one other thing that you need to do, and that is, and you can get I'm going to show you here, you can get a microphone that'll plug right into your phone, like $30 or whatever. You do need a microphone. When it comes to doing this, audio is more important than video. They will forgive bad video, but they won't forgive bad audio. They'll leave. Okay, there's some editing softwares you can do a whole lot with. And yes, I don't discourage any investment more over and above you want to do. I'm covering kind of a minimum bar today, but you can certainly upgrade, okay? And you know what I use? iMovie. It's on my phone and it's on my computer. And because I'm not doing a lot of splicing, I'm literally cutting the beginning because, I push the button and then I go around and sit down. I want to cut that off. And then when I get up to stop it, I want to cut that off and then I'm posting it. I'm not manipulating and splicing for this. But there's a lot of good softwares that will do way more than that. Lots of bells and whistles. That's not my area. So if you have a smartphone, and you have something to write with in your junk drawer, and you have sticky notes, then this is what you need minimum to get started with. You can do a lot better, but you can get a stand to hold your phone for $19.99 on Amazon, and you can get a mic that will plug in, and it will be way, way, way better than not using a mic. You can get better microphones, there's no doubt. But right there, you're going to take it to a good, strong level to get going. Just a few weeks ago, actually it's just a few months, time goes by fast. Well, it started back when we did the evangelistic meetings in the fall. I went into my favorite restaurant. It's a Thai restaurant in Columbia, Missouri. I like to take my wife there to eat. They have a wonderful dish that they make that's unique to that one. And this friend of mine, I'm going to keep his identity shielded for right now. He's an interest I'm working with. Don't want him to find me telling his story online, wherever they post this or whatever. And I went in to order, and he goes, I'll be watching you on YouTube. I want to come to your meetings. But they're in the evening, and I'm here cooking every night. He owns the restaurant. And I said, well, we can come up, we could do Bible studies or something. Oh, we could? He's a Buddhist. He has his daughter in a Christian school because they're better than the public schools in his opinion. And as a Buddhist, he wants to learn more about the Bible, and he wants to know about the 4 horsemen. I don't know where he heard about the 4 horsemen. But for you folk that think Bible prophecy is not something folks are interested in, the dude's a Buddhist and wants to know about the 4 horsemen. So we meet and we do Bible studies. If anybody knows of Bible studies, now not during the program, we got to wrap it up here, but personally, if you've worked with Buddhists and know of some Bible studies that would do good for Buddhists, please come and tell me. I could use some help. This is interesting to me. There's no point of common reference other than suffering. Buddhists are real concerned about suffering, and we have some great controversy stuff on suffering. We do Bible studies. I showed up for Bible study, and it was Easter weekend coming up, and he goes, my daughter's in the Christian school, and she's asked about Easter. I need you to teach me about Easter so I can talk to my daughter about it. He said, I want to understand Christianity better. I don't care if she's Christian or if she's Buddhist, but as she grows up, I need to be able to advise her, and I need to understand Christianity better. Oh, and don't forget, I want to know about the 4 horsemen, which I keep putting him off on because that's not one of the easier studies to just jump right in. It's not Daniel 2. And so I show him about Easter. And I show him about the resurrection of Jesus. And we talk about who Jesus is and why this matters. And we get all done, and he goes, but what about the eggs? My daughter likes to look for the eggs at her school. The Easter eggs? Yes. Where's that fit in? He has no point of reference. He's not offended for me to go ahead and say, well, let me tell you what happened in history. And I went ahead and I covered Christmas and Easter and the change of the Sabbath and talked about the Vatican. He's not sensitive to defending the Pope. He's a Buddhist. And I thought we really made some progress, and we get all done, and he goes, well, that's kind of like what we believe in Buddhism. And I thought, I need some help here. But we're planting seeds, and he cooks so good. It's so much fun. And so we're at the end. We ask, so what? We're reaching millennials and Generation Z in a way we've never done so before. As an Adventist pastor, you can become a face recognized in town as almost a local celebrity. Not that that's what I wanted to do, but that's kind of what's happened. And your influence can go a long way, I think, with that over time. It's, I think, even more important for local pastors than traveling evangelists, because this lingering recognition would be useless as a traveling evangelist. Okay? And anyway. Some places that I'm interested in going, I'm interested in looking at TikTok some more. I'm interested in seeing what happens with the next phase of YouTube when we start putting messages up that specifically deal with. I did try one message video, and it was too overtly religious, and YouTube made it where they wouldn't show it on phones, only on TVs, which was okay, but I wanted to show on phones too. And it was on Hellfire, and it started like this. I grew up Christian, and I was taught in the Baptist church that if you don't love Jesus, he's going to burn you in hell for all eternity. Is that what God's really like? Apparently that came on a little too strong for YouTube. I understand why. I really thought it was a good one, and some folks did too, but we're going to experiment with some other Sabbath, State of the Dead, Hellfire, but we're learning, you can't come on quite that strong. So, any questions? We'll have question and answer round 2 if there's any, and then we'll conclude. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
You showed that you're investing so many thousands of dollars. Was there a time when the church will say, let's slow it down?
No, they want to spend more on it, seriously. They're excited about it. We have people in a church on Sabbath morning right now that have come from these videos. They're pretty pumped about this. They're really excited about it. Mind you, when I showed up at this church, they were already putting $1,600 a month into personal evangelism. I'm in one of the few conferences left in the U.S. where they'll still, approve an evangelism budget of say $20,000 if you send it in and you're doing the outreach. And so the funding for us, now I realize I have been places where I couldn't get enough money to rub 2 sticks together as a pastor, okay? But right now I'm in a place where they have the vision and the desire to do it, and I'm glad that they do, because not everything we're doing, experimenting with works, but we have to experiment with it to find out if it'll work. But organically. See, I'm focusing on paid traffic. I don't give 2 backflips how many people subscribe to my channel. I'm buying my audience, as opposed to building an audience where some may be in Montana and some are in New York City, and it doesn't help me as a local pastor. So I'm paying for that to show people within 15 miles of my church. And so when it won't show on the iPhone and only shows on TV, well, more people are watching YouTube than television these days on TVs, so that's fine. But I'm thinking, I'm going to redo that video and try again so that it doesn't get marked to where it won't show as a paid ad on a phone, because I want it to show up on the phone too. Well, I think that they probably, any advertiser, let's say you saved up the money for a Super Bowl commercial, that doesn't mean you can run anything you want. They still want to meet certain standards. Network television, same thing. So they won't let you just run anything as an ad. But that's the only one. And I've done ones on what is a beast in Bible prophecy. I've done them on different symbols in Bible prophecy. I've done them on the focus of Bible prophecy, revelation of Jesus Christ. I've done them that are very overtly religious, and I've never had any other one. But that one starting out about, I grew up being taught that Jesus loves us, and if we don't love him back, he's going to burn us in hell for all eternity. I could see why they flagged that one. But, it's very popular, and it's a popular belief, which is why I knew it wouldn't turn people off. In fact, it didn't turn them off till I start talking about God's going to burn them up and not torture them. Yes, sir. Yeah. Great question. So he's asking, for those that aren't are we using a third party to work with YouTube, or you set these ads up right on YouTube? Is that okay? So it's a yes and no. First of all, if you don't have technical ability and you just want to do the video, Sermon View now has it set up to where they'll run the whole ads program for you. There is a fee. It is cheaper to do it on your own if you have the technical know-how to do it. The way that you do it is you use what's called Google Ads. And there's tutorials on that right on YouTube. It'll teach you how to use Google Ads. And Google owns YouTube, okay? And so they sync perfectly. And so you do Google Ads on YouTube, and the ones that we've had the most success with are the skippable at the beginning. 5 seconds, and then you can skip. And then if they don't skip, after 30 seconds, it's counted as a view. Occasionally, someone just leaves their YouTube playing and you're paying for ads and nobody's watching. That happens. That happens on broadcast television too, by the way. And so that's just the advertising world. But one thing that you can also do with the ads is you can, and we've experimented with some limited success of suggesting the next video. Like, for instance, if we have an interesting sermon topic on Sabbath morning, we might, for a couple of weeks, run that one as a suggested next video for people. And we've had some good success with that, with the Jonah series and some other things. All right, we're at the point we're going to stop. Okay, two more. 1, 2. Okay. I just use iMovie or whatever's on your phone. You can, if you want to get fancy, you can spend a whole lot, or not a lot necessarily, and get other stuff. But yes, sir.
The second half of that question, have you, for your evangelism, use like these third-party groups like Promota and these people who take your ads and expand your audience or platform, or do you find that useful or not at all?
I wouldn't say not at all. I'm not really. I haven't done that though. I will tell you that when I was first starting with this, that I contracted with an ad company at first. I'm looking for a specific note. I'm realizing that I didn't there. I want to share that in a minute. I contracted for 6 months with a company to handle all the advertising side of things, so that I could focus exclusively on creating the videos and getting better at that. With the goal of being ready to start doing it on my own at the end of that, and that's what I did. Now, on our second experiment of 16 decisions for baptism, 3 were from the handbill, 4 were from YouTube, 5 were from people that had watched YouTube and got the handbill. 3 were from friends, or 2 were from friends and previous contacts, and 2, the survey was unknown. But we found out that 1 was handbill and 1 was YouTube later. So that's the information, is that when we did our follow-up experiment, that YouTube handily did better than our flyer, which I thought was a great flyer. All right, thank you, everyone.
Reflection is so powerful, which is why we emphasize it so much at the Propel Conference. So stop for a moment and think about the things that Dr. Hiram Resser shared and how they could be applied in your own ministry. What was the big idea for you? How will you apply this in your own ministry context at your church? What are you inspired to do? When this episode finishes in another minute or so, I encourage you to pause for 5 or 10 minutes and just let your mind wander. This reflection time can be really powerful. Well, that's it for this episode. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at podcast@propelconference.org. And please mark your calendar for next year's Propel Conference coming to Tacoma, Washington, April 27 to 30, 2025. Special thanks to Dr. Hiram Resser for speaking at the 2024 Propel Conference, and to SermonView for sponsoring this episode. This has been the Propel Podcast, inspiration and innovation to grow your church. The Propel Podcast is produced by the crew at SermonView, and the event recording services were provided by Adventist Learning Community. I'm Larry Witzel, wishing you God's richest blessing in your evangelistic journey. Please join us again next time for another episode of the Propel Podcast.